trans women should be legally treated as women. 3, 2, 1. This is obviously very complicated. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So strongly, you're certainly welcome to. You're certainly welcome to clap for everyone, sir. That's fantastic. I love that. I love that enthusiasm, and you're even welcome to clap even when nothing is happening. Okay. So you've got strongly disagree. You disagree. You agree. Okay. So let's start with you. So can you tell us what are the reasons for why you believe trans women should be legally treated as women?
Well, I disagree with that.
Oh, we disagree. Why you disagree?
Well, as we've seen in situations where jails are involved, right? So men and women ought to be separated in jails, regardless of how someone identifies.
Because why?
We don't want to see people get raped, as we've seen actually happen, right? Inmates have raped other inmates when a man has said he identifies as a woman and ends up raping another inmate who's a woman.
Okay.
That's a problem. And not to mention unfair competition in sports.
Is there a particular sport you're thinking about?
Well, swimming is an obvious one recently, but really any sports competitions where physical strength and size matters, which is many sports, if not most.
Okay. So
I disagree that trans women ought to be treated the same as women, biological women, for those reasons.
okay. So why?
Disagree?
Well, yeah. But everything you said seems to me like you should be on strongly disagree.
So, but I don't strongly disagree insofar as like when it comes to interpersonal situations, if someone wants to be called by whatever pronouns they want.
But legally, the question is legally.
Legally. Even legally, like it's no. Yeah, so, okay, fair enough. Why should I not step over?
And you can, so that's the thing. Anybody, you can step it, no problem if you want to step. In fact, it's good.
Let me qualify that. So if someone fully transitions and wants to, whatever, have their driver's license say they're a woman when they were biologically male, it doesn't bother me, so.
So the reason
So that's a legal instance where, again, like to me, that's like not a.
Oh, so that's why you're on the disagree and not, okay.
Yeah, I can see cases where.
Okay,
yeah.
that's fair. Okay, so why you, sure, you know what, that's what you can do. Every time, whenever anybody says anything, particularly me, just keep clapping. Okay, so why are you on the agree?
It's hard to say legally. I mean, I've worked in a hospital and they really put an emphasis on DEI, and that means using the exact pronouns and the genders that the patients associate themselves with, and this way they get the treatment that they seek out of a hospital or a medical institution. And so from that perspective, I see why it's valuable to make patients feel comfortable.
What if the treatment they seek isn't the treatment they need?
Could you provide an example?
Yeah, so I'm thinking of a friend of mine is a physician, and she had a patient come in who appeared as a male, and she thought she was a male, but she had a yeast infection. And there's a story in the news about a person who came in who was looked exactly like a male, self-identifies as male, fills out male, but the person was pregnant, and it never came up because they self-identified as male.
I think it's equally important to disclose medically what is happening, but it is up to the patients to refuse treatment, to decide that they don't want to go through with whatever the doctor is recommending.
No, for sure. The question is, should trans women legally be treated as women? Can you think of any examples where trans women should not legally be treated as women?
I've not thought about this.
And this is why you are here. That's when we need you.
I mean, I've talked about this with people in sports, I suppose. I can see the validity of having an unequal or an unfair advantage because of biological, like at birth, they were.
So you're buying the sports thing.
Yeah, I can see the validity in that.
Were you buying the prisons thing? That people who self-identify as women who have penises should not be in female prisons?
I think at the end of the day, it's their decision, and if they voluntarily choose to change genders in prison, then that is okay.
But what if they haven't had bottom surgery and are still intact, and they self-describe as a woman? Should they be legally treated as a woman and put to a woman's prison?
Yes, I think so.
Are you concerned? Do you see any potential problems with that?
Yes, I do, but even so, even without this, there are currently lots of problems with the legal reform system, so.
You just keep going all night. You can just keep doing that, no problem. See, you got a huge fan over there.
I think he's a fan of everyone.
It's good. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm coming back to you because I'm still processing that.
Yeah.
Trans women should be legally treated as women. Tell me why you're strongly disagreeing.
Because I'm a molecular geneticist.
Well, I'm not even sure. Everybody else is clapping. Okay, so tell me what that, because I count on my fingers. I know nothing about genes.
Being male or being female is a developmental process. You can't go backwards. Okay. So you can't change your sex. Like, you cannot do that. And the truth is that currently in California prisons and prisons in other parts of the country, women are getting impregnated by other women. And there's just no way that, this is against the UN. After World War II, there was like I don't remember what body came up with this statute, but it was against, I believe it was the Hague. You cannot house female prisoners with male prisoners because they get raped. And that's happening today. And it's not in the news. It's not in the common news.
Okay.
But I know about it.
So that's the argument for, I just want to make sure I'm clear about this. So your argument is because you have domain-specific expertise as a molecular geneticist, and then the legal component of that is you're grounding that in your experience of what a man is and what a woman is.
Yeah. I'm sorry, this bothers me so much.
Well, that's why we're talking about it.
I know, my heart pounds, and I go to the women's changing room at my gym, and there's a dude in there, he's putting on makeup and hoop earrings. And this is not something a woman does when she goes to work out. And it's frightening. What am I going to do?
Well, so I know nothing about what happens in women's rooms. So that's behavior is not common in women's rooms?
No, nor do women beat each other to death, but men do. And it's so sad that women have internalized misogyny to the point where the man's comfort takes precedence over the woman's safety. There's a reason why they don't want to be in men's prisons, because men beat each other to death. Women don't do that.
Were you convinced by anything she said about putting men in women's prisons?
I have a rebuttal.
Please.
With all respect, too, because I'm an aspiring molecular geneticist. I want to say that your argument is really geared towards men identifying as women. But what about the other way around? Women identifying as men.
So you're asking her if she, I want to make sure I got this right. So you're asking her if she has a problem with women going into men's prisons.
Yeah, or men's changing rooms, going to gyms. And
Women cannot force a pregnancy on a man.
You buying that? You are? Okay, so what would it take you to move from agree to slightly agree? Like, what argument would you have to hear? What piece of evidence would you have to hear to move one line over?
I mean, I want to know specifically why legally it matters. I mean, I consider myself like pretty open-minded when it comes to these things, so I guess I would move over slightly agree. I just personally feel like in my heart that it doesn't matter legally who someone or what gender someone is.
Is it better to make that decision in your heart or in your head? Is it better to make that decision on the
both.
basis of the way you feel or on the basis of argument?
Both. I think having empathy for other people is also important.
And there are reasons to have empathy.
Yes.
And do the reasons to have empathy, because you can have empathy about the wrong things, right?
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that our reasons track our emotions in the right way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would it take you to move to the slightly agree?
A really good case study, a really good, solid,
That says what?
that says legally it's black and white, and
What's the it in that sentence? What?
are transgender women actually legally women, that it has to be one way or the other.
But that wouldn't be a case study, that would be an opinion piece.
Well, an example showing that that must be true, that transgender women have to be considered males. Or
But that would just be a legal opinion, though, as opposed to a case study. Oh, you mean like if you got a bunch of judges and lawyers who agreed?
I guess just, yeah, I suppose.
But couldn't they agree just because they've bought into a dominant cultural value as opposed to something that's true?
This might be offensive.
Impossible. You're talking to me.
How do you know that this, like the other side, isn't based on cultural norms and based on a legacy
Oh, it is.
history of,
It totally is.
yeah.
But I would say the answer to that question is who's willing to revise their beliefs?
And I think it's a person by person basis,
On the basis of what? Reason, evidence, or emotion, or some combination thereof?
some combination.
Okay, so you'd be willing to move to the slightly agree if you heard a case study of judges and lawyers, you'd be willing to move. But absent that, you're not going to move?
For now, yeah.
Okay. Anytime. Is anything anybody has said moved you to strongly disagree or to slightly disagree, or are you still going to be on your line? It's 100% fine if you are, but
I'm pretty good here.
are you confident that this is the right line?
Sure. I mean, like I said, there's these pretty clear cases where the distinction really matters. And then there's these other situations where I think most people, it doesn't hurt anybody.
Right. So that's okay. Yeah. So that's why you're on the disagree.
Yeah.
What evidence would it take for you, just one piece, and I don't want to spend too much time on this question, but what evidence would it take for you to go to one step to the right or one step to the left? What would you have to know that you don't know now?
That someone would get hurt if someone's driver's license, for example, was changed. If there was evidence that there's harm would come of that, I would move to.
But you already gave, you already gave two examples, like Fallon Fox in MMA, or Leah Thomas in swimming.
Those are reasons why I'm happy to be here. Now, if changing your driver's license also caused harm, I would move to strongly disagree. So if there's more.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
that makes
Okay,
sense,
okay, I got it. Okay, what if anything would cause you to move to the disagree? And is there anything you heard here tonight that would convince you to move one line over? It's okay to say no. I'm just trying to figure this out.
No, I have figured it out.
And you're confident.
I am as confident as I am that this is my hand in front of my face instead of yours. There is absolutely, this is the most insane thing that has ever happened to me in my life, that women are a feeling now. And that, as for the driver's license thing, if a man who has transitioned has F on his driver's license, and then he gets arrested. They're going to put him in a cell with women. And his hands are stronger, his body is stronger, and he can beat that woman to death.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, that's a.
Wow. Wow. Now we need you. Wow. Wow, hold on. You can come next. Wow.
So what you're saying is a good case for why we should maybe have a category that specifically says trans woman, not just female suddenly, right? So the designation is, this person is not male anymore. They don't, they've whatever lost their parts and have done hormones and transitioned as far as they could, right. But they're still not male fully, or they're still not a woman that are a trans woman. It's like a separate category.
Okay.
And then so when it comes to sports, again, there's.
So you moved. You moved. Okay, I'm going to do another, but I want to go say that. So he was convinced enough from disagree to strongly disagree based upon her one example. Does her example, is that sufficient to decrease your confidence and agree? It's okay if it's not. I'm just trying to figure out.
So I actually have I feel like everyone hates me.
No, but just, I don't do, hurry. No, nobody hates you.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. We're just trying to figure out we're just trying to figure stuff out here.
So my counter argument to that is there is always this danger where men could beat up women, and even as a woman myself, I could easily be walking down the street and get, assaulted or attacked, right? And just because something changes and it's not what we're used to, you could easily see the negatives. For instance, women going to school at UC Berkeley, right? That wasn't always a thing. And in fact, in the physics building here, the women's bathroom isn't even adjacent to the classroom because previously they weren't allowed to go here. You could easily make an argument that when women started coming to school and getting higher education, that men wouldn't have been accepting of them and could have attacked them easily, but that shouldn't be a reason as to stop them from achieving higher education or...
Okay, all right. I'm going to give you the last word. So you can come up next. Hold on. All right, we did the first question. Give him a round of applause.